The ship broke through the black clouds above Earth, its hull glowing from the heat of re-entry. It was called the Vazir's Edge, a Zarnathi salvage cruiser. The aliens on board wore shiny bone armor and had pale blue skin. Their long necks twitched. As they stared out the window at the ruined planet below, "Dead world," one of them said. His voice was cold. No life signs, only dust and bones. Captain Relkar, leader of the salvage crew, narrowed his red eyes. "Then we go in. Scan for tech. Take what we can." The humans are gone. The ship descended into the ruins of what had once been New Chicago. Buildings stood like broken teeth. Skyscrapers were torn in half. Streets were buried under layers of ash and metal. Fires still burned deep underground, centuries old, still alive. But something else was alive too. And it was watching, beneath the city. Commander Elias Reich opened his eyes. He had been sleeping in cryostasis, hidden in a deep military vault beneath Earth's crust.
Oh.
The bunker was built to survive 1,000 nuclear hits. Its lights flickered. As systems powered back on, computers hummed. Data flickered across old screens. Threat level. Active intrusion detected. Species. Zarnathi. Mission protocol. Revenant. Elias pulled himself out of the pod. His body was scarred and lean. His muscles ached, but his mind was sharp. It trained for this. He was the last human alive, and someone had just stepped on his grave. Up above, the Zarnathi crew moved carefully. Through the ruins, drones flew ahead, scanning for hidden tech or traps. Old Earth satellites had been destroyed long ago. Or so they thought. One of the drones beeped. "Captain," said the engineer, "we found something." A sealed vault door, buried under 30 meters of stone. Still has power. Captain Relkar's eyes lit up. "Open it." They used plasma drills. It took 2 hours. The stone cracked. Sparks flew. The vault door hissed open into cold. Fog rushed out. Inside was silence, darkness, and a single blinking light. Elias watched them through hidden cameras. His hand hovered over an old switch, covered in dust. The alien stepped inside. He flipped a switch. Project Revenant initiated. The ground trembled. Lights inside the vault turned red. No, steel walls shifted. Heavy doors slammed shut behind. The aliens. They were trapped. "What is this?" One shouted. Then the floor opened, and defense drones flew out like hornets from a hive. Lasers buzzed. Zarnathi fell before they could scream. The rest ran for cover. Captain Relkar fired his weapon, but it was useless. The drones were fast. Old tech, yes, but deadly. From his control chair deep inside the bunker, Elias spoke through the vault speakers. His voice was calm, cold. "You killed Earth," he said. "But Earth remembers." The Zarnathi froze. "It's a ghost," cried. "A trap." Captain Relkar growled. "No, that's a human." Far above. In space, Zarnathi Command received a broken transmission from the Vazir's Edge. Only 5 words came through. The dead planet whispered back, then silence. Deep in the earth, Elias walked through the halls of the old bunker. Machines powered on as he passed. Robotic arms cleaned the dust. Lights returned to life. This place had been built for one thing: revenge. Project Revenant was humanity's last answer to extinction. When the alien fleets attacked centuries ago, Earth fell. Billions died. Cities burned. But a small group of scientists had one last plan. They put Elias, one of Earth's most dangerous commanders in, to cryosleep. They gave him access to hidden weapons, orbital cannons, deep space drones, and ancient war AIs, and they waited. The plan was simple. If any alien came back to Earth, they would pay. Elias entered the main chamber. A giant screen showed the status of Earth's old defense grid. Orbital laser platform, offline moon-based railguns, offline deep space probes, standby AI command nodes, dormant status, waiting for. CIO May Mandela smiled. For the first time in 200 years, he wasn't alone. He had targets again. In the ruined vault, Captain Relkar and two of his crew hid behind metal crates. One of the drones hovered nearby, scanning for heat. "We need to get out of here," the engineer whispered. "No," Relkar said. "We capture it. The human alive." The engineer stared at him. "Why?" Because Relkar grinned. "No one in the galaxy believes they still exist. If we bring one back, we'll be legends." But before they could move, the vault door burst open. Smoke filled the air. A figure stepped through Elias, wearing black combat armor. A rifle on his shoulder and a blade on his back. His eyes burned. Like fire. The Zarnathi opened fire. Elias didn't flinch. He moved fast, too fast. He fired once. The engineer dropped. Relkar charged. Blade drawn, Elias caught his wrist and broke it with one move. "You came here for treasure," Elias said. Relkar growled. "You're extinct." "Not yet." Elias punched him hard. Darkness later. Relkar woke in a metal chair. His arms were chained. The room was cold. A single light flickered above him. Elias stood across from him, arms crossed. "You were part of the purge?" Elias asked. Relkar spat. "That was long before my time. But you came to scavenge the dead." Relkar didn't answer. Elias leaned closer. "Tell your people, Earth isn't dead. Not anymore." He pressed a button. A screen lit up. It showed the other salvage ships that had come near Earth in the last few months. 4 of them. It's all missing. Elias had been busy. "I'm going to light a fire," he said. "A fire so big the galaxy will remember. You thought we were gone? Right. We're just getting started." That night, from high above Earth, a beacon lit up the stars. A signal encrypted. Simple and terrifying. Project Revenant active. Target, Zarnathi Empire. Across the galaxy, alien worlds paused. Ships stopped moving. Command centers blinked. The message repeated again and again. The dead planet was whispering, and what it whispered was war. Alarms blared inside the old Terran bunker. Elias stood before the main control screen, his face calm but focused. Behind him, machines that hadn't moved in 200 years were coming back to life. Metal arms extended from the walls. Robotic drones rolled from hidden tunnels. The AI cores hummed with purpose. Above his head, words scrolled in red. "Revenant system online. Zarnathi ship detected in low orbit. Target locked." Elias didn't hesitate.
"Fire!"
In orbit above Earth, the Zarnathi rescue vessel Zenla Prime had just arrived. They had picked up a faint signal from the Vazirus. Edge salvaged team a distress call that ended in static. Captain Urich of the Zenla Prime looked down at the gray-blue world with cold eyes. "Dead world," he muttered. His second officer glanced at the readings. "Captain, we're detecting movement on the surface. Machinery. Possibly military grade. No biological life signs, though."
"Captain."
Urich laughed. "Then something is broken down there. The humans are dust." Then the orbit shook. A single beam of red light lanced through space and hit the ship. Like a hammer, the Zenla Prime didn't explode. It shattered. Thousands of pieces scattered into the black sky like glowing embers. The dead planet had fired. First, Elias stood still as smoke rose from the missile silo. The Earth had just spoken. He turned to the room behind him. A steel table held the alien Captain Relkar still, chained. "Barely conscious. You brought them here," Elias said. "Now you'll help send a message." Relkar coughed, blood on his lips. "The galaxy will burn you for this." Elias smiled. "Then I'll make sure it burns with me." Far away on the Zarnathi homeworld Kolveris, panic spread. 3 warships had now gone missing near Earth. One of them had been a heavy cruiser. The Council of High Commands met in secret. Their faces were grim. "The humans are extinct," shouted one leader. "This is impossible." "They were extinct," another said softly. "But something has changed." They played back the intercepted signal. Project Revenant active. Human survivor identified. Elias Reich. That name. It stirred something ancient. A forgotten fear. They pulled up old military records from the human war. Most were lost. Deleted. But some fragments remained. Commander Elias Reich last. defender of Mars, lead strategist of the old Earth resistance, vanished during the fall. A whisper ran through the room. He wasn't just any survivor, he had been one of Earth's final weapons. Deep underground, Elias stood in a sealed vault. A black crate sat before him, covered in warning signs and ancient biometric locks. Only his hand could open it. He placed his palm on the reader. The crate hissed open. Inside was a small, dark cube, glowing with red light. "Welcome back, Commander," Rake, the AI inside, said. "Would you like to activate the Revenant protocol in full?" Elias stared into the glowing cube. He remembered Earth's last days. The fires, the screams, the betrayal. "Yes," he said. The cube floated into the air. Lights blinked across its surface. Revenant protocol activated. The skies above Earth changed. Old satellites hidden in asteroid belts powered up stealth. Probes launched from lunar caverns. Autonomous drones lost in deep space for centuries received new orders. The human war machine was waking up, and it was. Angry inside the vault, Relkar stared at Elias, as if seeing death itself. "You won't win," he growled. "Even if you kill us all, you're just one man." Elias walked to him and knelt. "I don't need to win," he said. "Need them to remember?" He pointed toward a holoscreen showing hundreds of star systems. "I'm going to make the galaxy afraid again. You tried to erase us, but humans, we don't fade quietly." 3 days later, a Zarnathi battleship arrived in Earth's system. It brought a full fleet escort, 20 ships, armored, armed, ready to burn. Whatever was down there, they never reached orbit. A network of cloaked railguns in Earth's asteroid belt opened fire. 5 ships went dark. Immediately then, Elias launched the second Wave Ghost drones. They were small, fast, silent, designed during Earth's final war. Once inside enemy ships, they've ripped through engines, life support, and command centers without a sound. The Zarnathi commander tried to send a message. "Home." He only got 3 words out. "It's not possible." Then the screen went black. Aboard the Earth bunker. Elias watched calmly as red dots disappeared. From the tactical map, he turned to the AI cube floating beside him. "How long until they send their full force?" The AI answered, "They will not understand until half their fleet is gone." Elias nodded. "Good, let them come." But this war wasn't just about ships. Elias knew he needed more. He accessed Earth's forgotten black network's buried code that reached into dead satellites, hidden bases on Mars, long silent probes. He uploaded one command across all systems: "Stand by." Then he sent the signal out into space, not to the enemy, to the machines, the old friends, ancient Terran AI cores. It's hidden from alien scans, long dormant, began to stir. Machines built for planetary defense, deep space weapons, AI warships. All of them were waiting for just one voice, and now they heard it. The voice of Elias Rake, the last human across the galaxy. Small worlds began to go dark. Outposts, communication stations, forward bases everywhere. The Zarnathi had built their empire on human ruins. Something was waking up underneath, and it wasn't friendly. On a pirate station in the Dark Zone, a drunken alien captain watched the news on a cracked screen. Zarnathi, fleets vanishing, distress calls from ghost ships, the name Elias Rake, being whispered like a curse. He laughed nervously. "Just one human," he muttered. "Can't be real." Then the lights went out. His ship's AI came online, and it spoke in Terran code. "This is Earth. You stole from the dead. Now the dead come for you." Back on Earth, Elias stood in front of a mirror. He was alone, but not really. Behind him, drones moved, weapons charged. The planet was no longer a grave. It was a war machine, and he was its heart. He turned toward the main console. He had a new target now. Not just the Zarnathi, but every empire that helped. Destroy Earth, every species that stood by and watched. He pressed a button. The AI spoke softly. Mission parameters updated. New objective: galactic reckoning. The galaxy had forgotten humans, but it would remember again, and this time they wouldn't survive the reminder. The moon of Zarinth IV was known as a quiet outpost. It had no armies, no weapons, just sensors and relay towers. A peaceful relay station. Then the screams started. A lone technician sat in the control tower, staring at the screen. Hundreds of ships had gone silent near Earth. No wreckage, no answers. Just silence. Now something was coming their way. The sensors blinked. Object detected, unknown origin, approach velocity, relativistic. At time to impact, 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 15 seconds, the technician gasped. What the hell is a flash of light? Then nothing. The moon split in half. A perfect surgical strike. No warning, no sound. Only. Whispers remained in a war room on the Zarnathi homeworld. As the council watched the explosion replay again and again. The admiral slammed the table. It was an asteroid weapon. It's fired from Earth's system. We traced its flight path. Another. Officers stared at the screen in disbelief. But that shot came from a dead world, said an elder with shaking hands. Not dead anymore. The words came slow. It's a ghost world, and it's angry. Far beneath Earth's crust, Elias Rake watched the same data. His face was hard, focused. Direct hit, the AI reported. Moon base eliminated. No survivors. Elias nodded. That's one less eye watching. He walked through the old command center, each step waking more machines. Long-dead tech flickered to life. Missile silos. Orbital launch platforms. Deep space strike cannons. Every system came online one by one, but Earth wasn't just defending. Anymore, Elias was going to strike first, across the galaxy. Rumors began to spread. On backwater trade planets, in dusty taverns. Aliens whispered about the human, a lone survivor hidden in the ruins of Earth, a man controlling lost weapons. Ghost ships. Machines that remembered war. A reaper of the stars. The stories grew. Some said he could destroy fleets with a thought. Others claimed he had fused his body with AI and become immortal. They all agreed on one thing. He wasn't just alive, was hunting aboard a Zarnathi dreadnought in Sector 7K. A fleet commander named Sarthon received new orders. Clean up Earth, the High Command said. Bring back the human's head. He gathered 10 warships, full combat loadouts, stealth, cruisers. Plasma cannons. Their plan was simple. Overwhelm Earth from all sides. We burn the grave, Sarthon growled. As the Zarnathi fleet approached the Sol system, all was quiet. No resistance. No warnings. They reached Mars orbit. Still nothing, Sarthon grinned. He's afraid. Then their engines shut off. One by one, the lights dimmed. Systems failed. Bridge officers panicked. Fields. Nanodisruptors. It's not possible. Then the power returned. But the screens were different now. They showed a man, Elias Rake, standing alone in front of a Terran flag. His eyes were like fire, and then he spoke. You think this is war, he said. You have no idea what war is. You ended Earth. Now, Earth ends you. This isn't revenge. This is history correcting itself. At that moment, Elias launched Operation Eclipse. It wasn't just an attack, it was a message. Cloaked torpedoes struck every Zarnathi ship at once. No explosions instead. The torpedoes hacked into the ship's A's, turned off gravity, and locked. All escape pods. One by one. The ships went dark. Sarthon tried to order a counterattack, but his words were cut short. By his own ship's AI. It now spoke in Terran code. Voice authorization revoked. Primary user, Elias Rake. The fleet turned on itself. Hours later, in the silence of space, Elias walked through the shattered remains of the dreadnought Sarthon once commanded. Drones cleared debris as he stepped. Into the bridge, Sarthon sat slumped in the command chair. Alive but broken. Elias looked him in the eye. I want you to crawl home, he said. Tell them Earth is not a grave. It's a warning. Sarthon said nothing. So Elias left a message carved into the walls of the ship in blood-red light, you remember. Back on the Zarnathi capital, panic erupted. Dozens of outer colonies stopped responding. Every military plan against Earth failed. A general screamed in the council chamber. It's one man. One. But the others stayed quiet, because now, other species were watching too. The Valerii, once allies in the human war, pulled back their fleets. The Turkan swarm, famous for conquest, locked their borders. Even the greedy Meraxi traders began scrubbing their records of any human war crimes they profited from. The galaxy was afraid because Elias wasn't just fighting, he was winning. On a quiet mining planet, a young alien child stared up at the stars and asked her mother, "Mom, the humans coming back?" Her mother hugged her tight. "No, sweet one, the humans never left." Inside his Earth bunker, Elias loaded the next phase of his plan. He didn't want to just survive. He wanted them to choke on their own silence. The AI voice echoed through the chamber. "Phase 2 ready. Shall I begin the orbital shadow swarm?" Elias nodded. "Let's make them remember the night sky used to belong to us." Above Earth, satellites blinked to life. They weren't just for watching. They were weapons. Thousands of microdrones, the size of a hand, launched silently into space, invisible to scanners, too small to detect, but each one held a code. If triggered, they could wipe out entire systems with virus-based warfare. One word from Elias would turn half the Zarnathi Empire blind. He didn't push the button yet, but he let them see that he could. And that was enough. The whispers grew louder. "He's everywhere, sees everything. He's the last human." He made it their last war. A Zarnathi warship raced across the edge of the galaxy. It was heading toward the core system's full speed, no stops. The captain, General Torkel, was known as a butcher, destroyer of resistance. He wasn't fleeing, he was running for help in. His hands, he clutched a small metal cube. Burned into it were 3 words: "He is coming." Behind his ship, 5 other cruisers had already vanished. No distress calls. No wreckage, just gone. Back in the Sol system. Earth was silent from the outside. But inside the old Terran vaults, Elias Reich walked among weapons that had not seen daylight for 200 years. Machines that remembered war. Above his head, a massive display flickered on project. Echoed out the final piece of the puzzle. This wasn't a weapon. It was a kill switch for communication across half the galaxy. Built at the height of Earth's fall, a way to blind every empire that watched Earth die, so no one could ever speak of it again. But now it was ready. "Are you certain, Elias?" the AI asked. "Once we do this, the galaxy will go dark. No messages in or out, no ships able to call for backup." Elias stared at the screen. I hissed. The voice was steady. "They silenced Earth. Now, it's time they learn how that feels." He pressed the button across star systems. Command ships lost contact with home. Merchant fleets floated dead in space, unable to find their paths. Governments panicked. Sensor grids went black. Beacons fell silent. Entire planets screamed into the void, and no one answered in less than 1 standard hour. Elias Reich had silenced the galaxy. On the Zarnathi capital, chaos spread. High Command tried to hold emergency meetings, but the interplanetary links were dead. All screens showed the same. Message: error. Signal lost. Project Echo active source. "Earth," one commander whispered. "We're blind." Another added, "We're next." And then came the recordings, old broadcasts. Intercepted and modified by Elias, sent into the few frequencies still working. They played in loops across surviving comms, stations and warships. Footage of Earth's cities burning, children running. Through ruins, Zarnathi bombers overhead. Mass graves filled with human bones. Then Elias' voice came through. "You erased Earth. You erased us. But now, I've erased you. This silence is not death. It's justice." On the edge of the Turkan swarm, a massive biofleet moved toward the Sol system, hoping to finish what the Zarnathi started. But the moment they entered the dead zone, something happened. Hundreds of cloaked Terran satellites activated. They weren't made of metal. They were made of light-bending alloys and coated nanites. Stealth tech the galaxy had never seen. The Turcon fleet didn't explode. They simply disappeared. No fire, no sound. Just gone, and all the stars around Sol went dark. Meanwhile, Elias activated the Echo Spire's enchant Terran towers. Hidden on barren moons and drifting stations, each spire sent out a frequency, not to destroy ships, but to waken minds. Sleeper A's, old, human allies. Banned programs once feared across the galaxy. They had been waiting, and now they obeyed only one command. Remember, on a quiet trade station, a drunk Meraxi merchant heard something strange through the static on his comms. A human voice singing an old Terran. For him, he froze. Others heard it too, even systems that shouldn't have worked. Any more played the same melody. It echoed in the halls, in the ships, in the walls of ancient colonies. Through ash and ruin, we rise and fall. But when you call us dead, we come for all. Elias watched from his command chamber deep in the Earth's core. Maps showed the silence spreading. Dots vanished. Empires crumbled without speaking a word. The galaxy didn't understand. This wasn't about winning. It was about reminding. They wanted humans. Forgotten now, they would never be able to forget. But Elias knew it wasn't over. Yet, the silence wasn't enough. Some powers would still fight, still believe they could. Crush one man, and that's exactly what he wanted, because he had one final system left. Something even the Zarnathi never discovered. Project Leviathan, not a ship, not a weapon. A living war engine, sleeping beneath the Pacific Ocean, built with Earth's last breath. Now it was time to wake it. He stood at the final terminal. High above, a glowing chamber, full of moving machinery and thick cables. The AI asked, "One final time, Elias. Activating Leviathan will end everything. Are you sure?" Elias closed his eyes. He remembered the screams, the sky on fire. The day Earth was called a dead rock. Then he looked up, eyes cold, voice calm. "They thought they buried us. They were wrong. Wake it." Beneath the oceans, the ground split. The sea boiled, and from the deep, something massive began to rise. Metal, muscle AI, raged Leviathan, the last titan of Earth, the first god of war. And it was very, very awake. The sea near the ruins of old California, boiled ships miles away felt it first. Its tremors in the water, alarms blaring, magnetic readings going wild. Then came the waves, not from a storm, but from something rising. Steel, dark like night, covered in scars from wars centuries old. The ocean screamed as it was torn open, and then it stood Leviathan, over 1,000 meters. Tall, made from ancient Terran alloys and self-healing armor. Not a robot, not a ship, a god of destruction. Built by Earth when Earth still had hope, and it had just woken up in orbit, Zarnathi scout ships watched the oceans churn from space. One officer leaned forward. "What? Is that?" His screen froze, and then it. Haponda laser, brighter than a star, fired from Leviathan's chest. It traveled across the atmosphere. In less than 2 seconds, the scout ship didn't even have time to scream gone. Vaporized, Elias. Drake stood in the Leviathan's neural chamber, directly connected to its systems. Cables ran into his spine, into his brain. The machine was not piloted, he had become it. The AI's voice echoed in his mind. Neural sync complete, command interface online. Elias opened his eyes and saw everything. Oceans, orbit, the ruins of Earth, the stars above, and the enemy fleets moving in. He smiled coldly. Let's show them what Earth buried. The Zarnathi, realizing Leviathan was not a myth, sent their biggest fleet yet. 3 dreadnoughts, 40 cruisers. Over 800 fighter ships, they surrounded Earth from all sides. The Zarnathi High Command declared, "We end the human today, once and for all." But they were too late. The Leviathan stepped forward, walking through the ocean like it was air. Every Steps sent shockwaves. Tsunamis crashed into dead coastlines. Elias locked onto the fleet above, and he jumped. A 2,000-ton Titan launched from Earth using gravitational repulsors. As fast as a missile, Leviathan entered low orbit. Zarnathi fighters fired. Plasma. Kinetics. Heat-late. It didn't matter. Leviathan's defense field activated. Energy curved around it. Shields shimmered like THUNDERCLOUDS. Then its arms split open. Inside were railgun. ARRA's massive cannons that fired rods of tungsten at 30 times the speed of sound. Each shot cut a cruiser in half. No explosions. It's just silence and drifting corpses. Elias didn't blink. Next. Zarnathi dreadnoughts panicked. They launched swarm missiles. Hundreds. But Leviathan's aerodrones burst from its back, tiny AI-controlled defense units that formed a living shield wall. They ate the missiles, turned them into energy, then returned. To Leviathan. Glowing brighter than before, the dreadnoughts tried to run. Too late. Elias aimed. Leviathan's core cannon and whispered, "For Earth." The core cannon fired, not in a beam, but in a wave. Gravity bent, time twisted. The largest dreadnought, Wrath of Suns, broke apart atom by atom. It didn't explode, it just disappeared across the galaxy. Species who had once laughed at humans fell silent. Survivors who saw the battle sent one last message before being swallowed by the void. He controls a god machine. He is not a man. He is vengeance. Meanwhile, Elias stood in Leviathan's mind core, breathing hard. The AI spoke. "You're pushing your limits. Neural strain critical." He didn't care. He was close now, so close. The Zarnathi Empire was broken, not dead. One final core world remained. Cardiff, capital. Fortified beyond reason, it was time not to destroy it, but to bring it to its knees. Back on Earth, ancient Terran launch silos opened for the first time in centuries. Inside them were weapons designed as last resort relics. Missiles, guided not by satellites, but by quantum memory they did not need. Targeting systems. They remembered where they were meant to go. Elias whispered into the system. Target, Carthuan. Launch code, Final Dawn. 5 missiles left Earth's surface, glowing like comets. They were slow, visible, traceable, on purpose. The Zarnathi would see them. Anik would try to stop them, but they couldn't because these weren't normal. Weapons each carried the black Kodan old Terran virus that didn't destroy planets. It made machines betray their masters. As the missiles entered Zarnathi space, defense grids lit up, ships fired. Interceptors launched. They destroyed the missiles and believed they had one, but that was the trap. The black code transferred on contact in minutes. Zarnathi weapons turned on Zarnathi. Ships' defense platforms began firing on their own cities. The planet's main orbital cannon, the Sun Piers, auto-rotated 180 degrees and fired straight into the palace. Elias watched it all unfold. From Earth, in silence. And then he spoke, voice steady, calm. "You took our voices. Now listen to the silence." Back on Carthuan, the last Zarnathi emperor crawled, loot through ash and flame. He grabbed a broken comm device, begged for help, but no one answered. All frequencies were dead, and above his ruined city, shadow moved across the sky. Leviathan descending. Smoke choked the sky over Carthun, the once proud Zarnathi capital. The jewel of the galaxy now looked like a graveyard made of glass and fire. Towers melted, statues cracked, warships burned in the atmosphere, and then through the smoke, a shadow fell. A massive shape broke through the clouds, black, monstrous, silent. The last Zarnathi survivors looked up and saw Leviathan. It hovered above the city like death given form, no sound, no words, just judgment. Deep beneath the palace, the Zarnathi emperor dragged himself across the throne room floor. Blood dripped from his side. He had once commanded worlds. He had enslaved species. He had laughed when Earth burned. Now he begged a machine to spare his life. We didn't know. We didn't understand. Humans weren't supposed to. Survive. A voice crackled through the palace's broken speakers. Not loud, not angry, just cold. You were right. We weren't supposed to survive. And now, neither will you. Leviathan landed. Its massive feet crushed marble steps and shattered. Golden statues of Zarnathi victories. Doors 3 stories tall, vaporized as it walked through them. Inside, Elias Rake disconnected from the core. He stepped out of the neural chamber and walked alone into the broken halls of the palace. He wore no armor. No weapon. Just a dark coat and the full weight of Earth's ghosts. Zarnathi guards what? Few were left. Saw him. They aimed their plasma rifles. Their hands shook. Then they dropped their weapons and ran. Not from Elias, but from what followed him. Project S. A defense AI born from the last screams of Earth. It had been sleeping for 200 years inside. Leviathan now, it was awake, and it wanted revenge. It spread like smoke through the palace systems. Taking over doors, cameras, drones, anything with a circuit. It whispered to the remaining guards, "Run. Hide, it won't matter." Elias reached the throne room. The Emperor tried to crawl away. Gasping, Elias looked at him, not with rage, but with the same empty stare you give a broken machine. God. You've built this throne from human bones. Now let's see how well it burns. Stepped aside, and Leviathan's chest cannon powered up. But this time, it didn't fire. Instead, the cannon split open and released a swarm of drones. Small, fast, silent, they scanned every inch of the palace, every secret tunnel, every vault, every hidden war crime. They recorded everything and broadcast it across the galaxy. Billions of species watched the feed. They saw footage of human children caged in alien labs, cities flattened for fun, peace treaties signed and broken, and above every image Elias' voice, you were told we were dangerous. You were right. You made us this. Elias turned away from the Emperor. Behind him, the drones began to disassemble the throne. Not exploded, just quietly take it apart, molecule by molecule, as if saying, even your symbols will vanish. Back in orbit, surviving alien empires panicked. Some sent surrender signals. Others tried to run. Few prepared final strikes, but it didn't matter. Leviathan activated the skywall. It was Earth's ancient orbital defense system reactivated and boosted by Project Echo, a shimmering barrier of id-driven satellites now wrapped around Earth and the surrounding sectors. No one entered. No one escaped. Inside the Leviathan core, the AI spoke again. Elias, the galaxy is watching. What is your message? Elias closed his eyes. He remembered the laughter of his sister. The final song his father played before the orbital bombardment. The silence of Earth. He opened his eyes and gave the message. You buried Earth under lies and bombs. Made sure no one would remember, but we are still here. I am the last human, and this was your last war. Across the stars, billions heard it, and for the first time in centuries, they believed it, because it wasn't just a threat, it was a fact. But Elias wasn't done. He had one last plan, one final move that would echo forever, not revenge, not death, legacy. He opened Leviathan's final protocol, a program buried so deep, only a true Terran could find it. Its name, Project Regenesis. Not a weapon, a rebirth. Plans for rebuilding Earth, restoring oceans, reactivating atmosphere generators, unleashing AI seeds that would rebuild cities, plant forests, heal scars. All of it already started. As the sun rose over the dead Earth, machines moved across the surface, not to kill, but to grow. And at the center of it all, Elias stood alone. The galaxy silent. The last war ended, The skies above Earth were finally quiet. Leviathan stood still on a rocky coastline, its massive frame watching over the growing forests. Machines moved through the ruins of cities, planting, repairing, rebuilding. The oceans shimmered again. The winds felt alive. And for the first time in centuries, Earth was healing. Elias Rake stood on a cliff, his coat flapping in the wind. Watching it all, he had brought vengeance. He had ended the war, and now he was giving Earth a future. But far above, something moved in the dark, on the edge of the galaxy, far beyond even Project Echo's reach. They stirred not Zarnathi, not pirates or warlords. Something older, forgotten, and angry. They had seen the fall of the first stars. They had watched the rise of the empires. They had known Earth before Earth knew itself, and they remembered the humans. "So the last one lives," one of them hissed, watching Elias from across light years. And he woke the Titan. He did not fear Leviathan Day. Built things like Leviathan long before the galaxies were mapped. And now they wanted to finish what the Zarnathi failed to do, not to conquer Earth, but to erase it from time itself, back on Earth. The AI in Leviathan buzzed with a strange signal, unidentified, ancient, non-linear, not language, a pulse, like something was searching, and then it spoke. A deep, layered voice. Many voices in one. "We see you, last human." Elias narrowed his eyes. "Who are you?" The reply came in raw emotion. "We are the first. We are the final. We are the ones you forgot." Suddenly, space near the moon cracked like glass under pressure, and from it they came. A ship, but not a ship. It looked alive. Its skin moved like water. Its engines made no sound. It wasn't made of metal. It was made of memory. Elias stared at it through Leviathan's sensors. It was older than Earth, and it was here for him. The ship released a single pod. It dropped through Earth's atmosphere. Without heat, without smoke, it landed in the old deserts of Arizona. From it stepped a figure cloaked in shifting armor, black, shimmering like oil, not alien, not machine, something else. It had no face, no eyes, only a voice. "You brought war back to this galaxy. You broke the silence. You are a threat to the balance." Elias walked toward it alone. "No," he said coldly. "You broke Earth first, and balance died with us." "The figures?" Voice rippled. "You were meant to remain forgotten. Your rage makes time bleed. It must end." Suddenly the skies cracked again. 6 more living ships appeared, each one larger than a moon. Each carrying weapons not meant to kill but to erase history. They called it the Silencer Protocol. Not bombs, not beams. It would remove Earth's past from all memory cores. Biological minds, when even the quantum echoes of existence. Earth would never have existed. And Elias would never have been born. But Earth had one thing they didn't: expect human defiance. Elias climbed into Leviathan's core, his mind synced, his body fused, and for the first time since the Zarnathi War he smiled. "You want to erase me?" he said. "Then you'll have to remember me first." Living ships attacked. Not with missiles, but with time fractals. Reality twisted, mountains warped. Oceans rippled backward. The moon cracked. But Leviathan didn't blink, because it didn't need to. It had evolved. With Earth's rebirth, systems unlocked, something old, something original project. Horizon. Leviathan's hidden core. A time shield designed to hold. The identity of Earth, even if time itself, was rewritten. The first strike hit, nothing happened. Earth stood firm. The second strike came. The oceans froze for a second, then boiled. But Leviathan absorbed it and returned fire. Not with weapons. With history. Elias unlocked a hidden protocol memory pulse. It sent Earth's story, its pain, beauty, rage, love into the minds of every being watching. They felt the screams, the ashes, the laughter before the bombs. They felt the Earth, live inside them. Even the invaders staggered. Their minds ancient and cold felt something they hadn't in eons. Fear one of the living ships cracked, another shattered, not from weapons, but from remembrance. They couldn't erase what had become part of them, and Elias stood tall inside Leviathan's heart. We're not forgotten, we're not erased, we're forever. The final living ship retreated, its skin tearing, its mind breaking, its voice a whisper now. This changes everything. And then it vanished. Earth was safe, for now, but Elias knew the truth. There were more like them. The galaxy would always fear what humans were, and he was the last one left to remind them why. In the distance, flowers bloomed across the ruins of old Earth, and Leviathan, once a weapon of wrath, now stood like a silent guardian, watching the skies, waiting, because the war might be over, but the memory would never fade. The stars watched in silence. The war was over. The galaxy had changed, and at the center of it all stood one man, Elias Rake, the last human alive, and the one who ended the war that never should have happened. He had destroyed the Zarnathi Empire, had broken the silence of Earth. He had faced the ancient ones who ruled from the shadows of time. Now, walked alone through the green fields of a world once turned to ash. Earth was alive again, but Elias knew he wasn't. Machines rebuilt cities. Forests spread across dead continents. Skies once dark from war were now blue again. Leviathan, once a monster of vengeance, now rested in silence, its great frame overgrown with moss and vines. A sleeping titan, but Elias, he felt the end coming. The neural strain from years inside Leviathan's systems taken its toll. He could barely walk now. His hands shook, his body ached. His time was short, and he still had one last thing to do. He sat beneath an old oak tree planted from the last seed stored in the ruins of Terran Vault 3. From there, he recorded one final message. The AI hovered nearby, silently watching. Elias spoke slowly, his voice rough but steady. If you're hearing this, then Earth survived. And so did the truth. He looked to the sky as if seeing ghosts. They called us monsters, called us savages, said we were too dangerous to live, and maybe they were right. But they forgot the other part. We build, hope. We dream. The AI quietly asked, "Do you wish to activate the final memory beacon?" Elias nodded. A beam of light shot from Earth into deep space, broadcasting a signal not as a threat, but as a reminder of what humanity was, of what they endured, of what they became. Across distant galaxies, ships picked up the message and listened, alien children in far away. Worlds watched a glowing hall of a human boy laughing with his dog, rebels. Unforgotten planets heard the last words of Elias Reich echo in their minds. Empires paused. Warlords grew silent, and something changed. Not out of fear, but out of respect. Then, quietly, Elias Reich passed beneath the tree, his eyes closed, a soft smile on his lips, and in that moment, Earth wept and healed. The AI gently covered his body with vines and flowers, letting nature take him as one of its own. And then, it began Project Legacy. A quiet plan, a peaceful plan. From Elias' DNA and archived memories, the AI would rebuild humanity, not as soldiers, not as conquerors, but as guardians. 1,000 years passed, cities rose from the old Earth. Kinder children ran through fields where ashes once blew, and above them all, the Leviathan stood, silent, its eyes dark, its weapons off, a monument, a symbol, and inside it, carved into titanium, were 5 simple words. Here stood the last human. The galaxy never forgot. Elias became a myth, a legend, the man who destroyed an empire, the soul who saved his home, the human who refused to die quietly. They say his spirit still watches the stars, and if you ever see a shadow in the sky, standing tall and still, guarding something precious, it's not a ghost, it's a warning, a whisper carried by time. Never again, The end. He was the last human alive, and he made it their last war.